Welcome everybody to this session of our Commissioner College. This is entitled BCS 105, and I've been also asked to include MCS 305. Now, they kind of intertwine because one is on a bachelor's program and the other one's on the master's program. And the basic titles on it is Resolving Common and Critical Unit Issues. Now, all of us have been there. We've gone through it, especially with the new units that have come on board. One of the things that I want to emphasize to everyone here is that there were some great comments made by Richard. And as commissioners, we have a great responsibility. And the very first thing that I want to address to you is that as commissioners, we need to make sure that the unit has complete faith in us, that we need to make sure that they know who we are and that we're backing them 100%. Any concerns that they have, they can address us with it. If we don't have the answers, we're going to tell them that we'll find the answer and we'll go above and beyond on the district level if we have to. But at this point, on this session, like I said, we're going to try and resolve some common critical unit issues. In fact, I've included in this portion of the class a scenario of which you're going to work on. Now, the very first question, after completing this course, a commissioner should be able to, 1, identify unit strengths and needs, using the unit assessment matrix. Now, I don't know how many of you out there know what the unit assessment matrix is, but it's part of the master's program. So we're going to talk about that a little bit here in this class. The next one is to understand early warning signals of unit issues. Now, the third one is to identify and focus area for observing specific unit needs during regular contacts. Now, these are three strong issues that we need to have an understanding as commissioners, be it unit, be it an ADC or the commissioner of the district. We need to follow through to be able to make sure that these needs are being met. Now, this is what the unit assessment matrix looks like. Now, if you have a cell phone, you're more than welcome to take this. If hopefully it shows up off of your screen that you can have an understanding to it. And here it is. It talks about relative ranking. You score them on a basis of 1 to 5. You can use them in colors, give a definition to it, and that should have a program plan. When you first visit the unit, these are things that you need to take a look at. Are the leaders trained? Are they meeting on a regular basis? Is the youth leaders trained? Is there a program in place? Now, when we talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about plans that should be involved in the unit. They should have a plan that they're working off of. So with that being said, here's this, I want to go to this next slide, which is called the unit assessment game scenario. Now, where all of you are basically or have been commissioners, especially you that are unit commissioners, I want you to use this scenario, and I'm going to give you about 15 minutes, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Here's the scenario. PAC 123 has for many years been the largest and most active PAC in the Polaris district. Membership has averaged between 56 and 104 scouts over the past 4 years. Recently, the Cub Master has been running a one-man show. The committee chair has served in name only. The committee has 16 parents, including all the den leaders. Only 3 of the members are fully trained. The chartered organizational representative is active and involved in the unit. This past year has been turbulent with the Cubmaster running the pack his way and making waves with the district and the troop chartered to the same organization. The pack has been very successful with 100% of their youth advancing one rank. The pack den meetings and pack meetings go on as scheduled. All currently registered adult leaders are current on youth protection training, but remembering only 3 of the 16 adults listed on the 16-member committee are fully trained. The Cubmaster was making negative comments about the district and troop. The negativity has cost the unit many families, both from the Cub program and the troop program. They have no unit plan. Now, with this in mind, going back to the matrix system, I'm going to give you, I want you to take a piece of paper. I want you to go 1, 2, 3. And here's what's going to be behind number 1. Rate the unit on a scale of 1 to 5, red, yellow, or green. Number 2, identify the unit's key strengths and needs. Number 3, identify any issues the unit has and if any are critical to the unit's success. Okay, why don't we go ahead and start discussing this a little bit. I would like to get opinions from all of you that are here today and tell me how you would handle this as a commissioner, as a unit commissioner, basically. Anyone? Do you want me to call by
My
name?
knee jerk is to get rid of the Cubmaster, but
Yep.
not just.
Mine was actually a 2, and on the strengths and needs, and identify the needs and strengths or whatever. We need more trained leaders in this unit. They have no succession plan in place. That's clear by the Cubmaster still being in power. The detailed assessment for me would be, of course, needs improvement with training and leadership. Service plan needs to be put into place. A succession plan, needs to be put into place. We need to have more trained leaders. That's about all I've got with that one.
Okay, thank you, Christopher.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
I went a little bit different route. And I agree that, the Cub Master probably would eventually need to be replaced, but I'm more of a optimistic individual more than saying just cut the string. So my first thing would be to have maybe an adult meeting where you bring somebody in and do a YPT class and get all the adults trained first. I know that we've done that before in our district. In conjunction with that, go ahead and maybe do a Cub Master training refresh class, and then try to get someone to step up and do an assistant Cub Master with him at the same time.
Good choices, Melanie. Thank you.
Larry,
Totally.
I
Oh, go ahead.
Larry, I had one of my strengths was that they did have an active chartered org rep. One of the first things that I would do would be to bring the active chartered org rep in and explain some of the issues that we're having, meet with the committee chair as a key three, and then work at developing a plan, a service plan for them, and then keep the PAC committee involved. If he's running a one-man show, and to me, it would be that he's not really involving his PAC committee, and that would be a lack of training and more specific position-specific training, which I normally find is one of the key problems in a lot of the units that I serve as a unit commissioner and as helping other commissioners as an ADC. So I would second that with our district training chair to run a training for the unit to get everybody up to speed. Because I believe that when unit leaders get trained, a lot of these problems start to weave themselves out because a Cub Master becomes very overly involved, I believe, because of a lack of unit specific training by the other den leaders and everything else. So he's trying to step in and do too much. And I would go back to what we all talked about this morning, keeping in your own lane. Once those den leaders and the position specific peoples through the PAC committee get trained, that helps everybody stay in their lane, and then things would hopefully smooth themselves out.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chad.
Yep. To build upon that, I look at their strengths as, say, the number of committee members, and that they have a strong core or a fully involved core. And so my first recommendation to the unit would be to have a discussion with the core and determine if she is aware, has a concern about the Cub Master. Because the way I look at it, it's really between the core and the committee chairman, especially the core, to have a discussion with the Cub Master if they have an issue. Maybe the committee and the core do not have an issue with the Cub Master. I mean, we can't force the issue, but my recommendation would be for the core to have a discussion with the Cub Master to determine a way forward based on what's happening.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Them are good comments as well. Anyone else?
The last thing I had, and funny enough, is I'm Troop, and there's actually somebody on the PAC on this call that's our feeder PAC, are supposed to be. So we kind of have a similar situation towards the end of this where the PAC and Troop have had issues. So, you do need to get the COR involved and sit down leadership and make sure that you clear up the line of communications and foster the relationship, whatever that takes. Because if you don't have the PAC, the Troop, the district relationship, nothing else is really going to really fix that. And so, and she could even attest, it's taken years to fix that. And that's a key thing right there as well, where a Troop can suffer and literally die if they don't have that PAC relationship.
Okay. Now here's a question that I'll ask you all. Is it necessary to get rid of the Cub Master?
I don't think it is. I feel like if they, if you can sit down with them and talk to them and maybe figure out why they're making those comments and why they're having problems, I mean, I think anything can be fixed.
I agree, but at the same point in time, one of the first time, when you first get into a leadership role, the first thing you need to be doing is finding your replacement. So there always has to be a succession plan in place. I mean, it's great if he wants to do it for 4 years, but somebody has to be, in the process being an assistant or something. And there has to be the knowledge that in a year or two or whatever, this gentleman or lady may be the next one taking place. Succession plan is really big and key in any organization. I once had a unit that had a scoutmaster that was there for 25 years. You talk about things staying the same and no freshness being brought to the party. There was a lot of scouts that would come in and stay less than a year and leave and transfer to another troop. It was just took us a long time to get him out of that position.
Okay. It can be very difficult in the positions that we play as commissioners. And Melanie, I like the comment that you made that as far as maybe it's time that we instill some new training for her or him as a Cub Master. Now, the one thing as commissioners that we need to have an understanding is that when something like this happens, remember the slide that Richard showed us. He showed us a little slide of progression because it goes from the unit commissioner to the district commissioner on up. But on a unit level, you come from, it's because it should be based on a youth-led program, correct? It should be run by the youth. And so as commissioners, we are there to help and to assist and to serve. Now, when we first, one of the things that I do here within our own area, because I am the assistant ADC, but I'm also the Eagle coordinator, I make sure that when I'm visiting the unit, that I make an assessment of the unit. How well are they doing? Are the leaders trained? Is the program running the way it should be running? And if you can see that, for an example, this young man or lady, whoever it may be, is doing it his own way, is the program being done the way the BSA regulations are calling for? Those are the assessments that we need to look at. If not, then it is time for us to say, okay, we need to regroup. And that's important, why you need to use this unit assessment matrix when you visit your units. Now, I do realize that a lot of the councils that are out there are widespread. And so it may be a little harder to be able to have a conversation with the COR or the Cub Master or even committee members. But the important thing today is because in today's world, we have this wonderful thing called technology. There really should not be any excuse that we couldn't have an opportunity to at least invite the people that we need there into a private, basically, teleconference that you can talk and discuss about things. Now, remembering, the idea as a commissioner is that we're not there to upset anybody. We're not there to say, hey, you're fired or anything of that nature. Our position is to serve and to help. Remember that. All these comments are great. You did well on your assessments, because what I was looking for is that you not only assessed what was bad, but you assessed what was good as well. Because technically, in this scenario, all of the leaders had youth protection training. They had taken the training, but they hadn't finished their training because there was only 3 of the 16 that were really fully trained. On the other hand, you had a chartered organizational rep who was there. He was concerned, he wanted to be there and wanted to help with the unit. But yet, on the other hand, again, the committee chair is in name only. And so, again, as commissioners, we need to be involved and assess each one of these units that we have. Now, moving on because we need to start moving on with our time. So supporting unit growth and retention. That's really important as commissioners that we need to help with. I do know that in today's world, there are many units throughout the council, nationwide, that have a lot of problems with, because in the scenario that we had, because of what the Cub Master was doing, we had families that were dropping away, not only from the cubbing program, but from the troop program as well, because he was creating dissension with both. So we need to continue to support and grow to help them retain the youth that are there, both young men and young women. 2, staying in contact with unit leaders. Now, as a commissioner, I want to ask all of you to please make sure that you stay in contact with your unit leaders, because they need to build a rapport and know that we are there to help them. If we don't, then they think that we as commissioners are just name only. Yeah, we belong to the program, but we're not there to serve or help them in any way. And that's the one thing that we need to have an understanding, that we make a commitment when we decided to become a unit commissioner or a commissioner, period. And so I would hope that all of us would make a commitment to ourselves and make sure that we make it as possible to stay in touch with those leaders, especially when you're starting to put together a service plan for them to follow. Number 3, linking unit needs. That's really important, because as new units start, there are a lot of issues that come in place. And so we need to help them with their needs, getting them trained, finding them maybe some place to meet if at all possible. Now, we talked about earlier about, churches, it's not the only place to meet. I mean, we can actually meet in homes if we're willing to do so, as long as we're following the guidelines right now with this COVID pandemic situation that we're all in. And it makes it a little harder for us all to follow through with that. But if we have to, we can actually do it as 1 or 2 or 3 days of the month that you can choose to pick, that you can meet with each and every one of them. Even if you break them down into 5 groups, but teach the same thing to all 5 groups. Number 4, supporting charter renewals. Now, that's one of our main responsibility as a commissioner, is to make sure that the unit gets renewed or rechartered when it comes time. Now, realizing as well, I noticed on the chat box that all these chats that were coming in from everybody, that we need to get families involved. A lot of times it's hard to get the parents involved of the youth. And so we need to use some common sense and maybe be more of a friend to the parent and ask if they would sincerely help, because you need help. And I'd let them know that we're lacking the leadership, and we would like to know if you would be involved. There's no reason why we shouldn't ask. If they say no, okay, then we move on, and then we try to find something else. Would you all concur? Okay, thumbs up. Yes.
Larry, we actually have a requirement that one parent must be either on the committee or involved in some type of role in the scouting as a scouter for each scout that's in there, so that we can keep parent involvement, because we're not a babysitting club.
Good. And that's true. You're not. So they should be involved, and I like that. Because one thing that you have to remember is that they need to be trained. If you bring them on board as a committee member, they still need to meet the requirements.
Right.
Or in any other position as far as the PAC is concerned. Okay. Now, with renewals, we also have to remember, who'd we lose and why'd we lose? Was there something that we could have done differently to help retain those that walked out the door. And so an effort needs to be made back to those that dropped out, and maybe have a little one-on-one chat just to see, okay, what can we do to make it better? As far as a commissioner or even as leaders, having a chat with a scoutmaster, a cub master, or a crew member, and then work with them and get them excited about the scouting program. Because I believe in the 4 values. I call them values because the Scout Oath is a value, the Scout Law is a value, the motto is a value, and so is the slogan. Because they're all values that our youth in today's world need. Okay, now number 5, delivering effective roundtables. Now, I know this is a hard thing because of a pandemic. We have here in our local council, we've been holding virtual roundtables. And so we have an opportunity to still meet with everyone. And then we have breakouts just like we are doing right now. We have the scouts go into the scouts and the basically commissioners and CORs go into one meeting, and then the Cubs go into their own, which has been very helpful because they're still being trained. They're still hearing what's going on within the council. And we should be active involved as knowing what is going on in the council. As a unit commissioner, who are you responsible to answer to? Anyone?
Council commissioner or district commissioner,
The
district and then council.
Exactly. It's the district commissioner first. If the district commissioner can't help you, then you move on up to the council commissioner. But eventually the answer goes down the ladder, right? It comes up the ladder and then goes back down the ladder, so that we have the right information and can give what those needs are. Now, here's 2 things. 3 and 4 are very important, okay? Linking unit needs and supporting chartered renewals. We need to give more thought as commissioners and helping these units become who they need to be, and having a proper program that they're working off of. Okay, moving on. The commissioner's goals: discover strengths and needs in all of our units, and 2, help the unit improve performance. Now, is a commissioner doing his job by just visiting them twice a year?
No.
No. We should at least be on top of maybe once a quarter, or maybe even more than that, if you can spare the time in our busy work schedules. But it's important that we be there for them. That rapport needs to connect so that you are one, that they can trust you, like we were talking earlier. Any comments? Okay, moving on. Some needs are common.
Actually, I have a comment, Larry.
Okay.
So I'm over 3 different units, and the one unit has just basically fallen through the cracks. I mean, it's what Cub Master and the committee chair were both in the same household, and they've just really struggled and are having a really bad time right now inside their family. And so it's just kind of moved on. But one of my troops they send me emails and let me know what every activity they're doing and everything that's going on. They invited us to go ice fishing with them last weekend. And so we went off ice fishing with them, and also being in roundtable. When we had roundtable on Wednesday night, they were just all excited to tell me everything that was going on, and so glad that it was happening. And I think that it's that thing where you've been able to establish that friendship first, and then let them, include you as much as they feel like they want to include you. But I get seriously an email every week saying, this is what we're doing. Do you want to come? Do you want to do it on Zoom? Do you want to? And so I have a lot of contact with them, but they're comfortable with letting me know what's going on.
Okay, that's awesome, because that's the way it should be. But now getting back to the unit that has fallen apart, we must in some way find out why. Why did they fall apart? Is there something there that we could have helped with and maybe even can still help with is the important thing. Now this question that's up here, some needs are common and can be identified by early warning signals. What are some of the early warning signals that you have seen before?
Kids quit coming.
Okay, kids quit coming. What else?
Leaders decide that they don't really necessarily want to be involved anymore.
Okay, we'll make that 2.
No advancement.
No advancement. That's a good one.
Kids not having fun.
Not having fun.
Comments from parents.
Comments from parents that are just kind of disgraceful in a way or harsh.
No return calls or emails.
Okay,
Canceled activities.
canceled activities.
When you go to the PAC meeting and there's supposed to be 60 people there and only 10 show up.
Ah, good, good, good. What should happen in that scenario?
As a commissioner, I would ask, I wouldn't go after the leadership because for me, it's kind of a sign that the leadership has put the unit into a position. I would ask the parents there if this is typical turnout or if they've had more and kind of see what they've noticed as a trend. Normally they'll say, well, we used to have a lot of people show up, but the numbers have been getting less and less and people just seem unsatisfied. And then the floodgates open and then they start listing all these things and the parents start to speak the problem without you even asking.
Okay. But the main thing is that we're researching the problem, correct? The unit commissioner's goal is to help the unit leaders to feel the commitment of the commissioner for their relationship to grow and allow collaborative problem solving. Now, I found it interesting with Dana when he was talking about they invited you. The unit actually invited you to come out and do some eye fishing with them. That is a good rapport between a commissioner and a unit, and that's what we want because they know you're there for them. Okay. Those are things that we all should do. Number 2, the unit commissioner's goal of unit support is to learn the unit's strengths and needs and to help units create a plan for addressing its needs. Now, this number 2 is very important. So the unit commissioner should know the needs and strengths of the unit. And more importantly, help them create a plan for addressing its needs. That's critical. That is really critical because there should be a plan in place for them to follow. Number 3, commissioners together with the key 3 prioritize the unit needs. Who are the key 3? Anybody?
The
Chair,
The
Minister, and charter org rep.
Okay, committee member or committee chairman.
Cub
Go ahead,
Master.
Jenny.
The committee chair, the Cub Master, or the Scout Master, and the COR.
Okay, those are your key 3. They are important. Should there be any more than that? Go ahead, Chad.
The new lingo is to do the key 4, which includes the unit commissioner.
Okay. You can invite the unit commissioner to be there. Why?
To provide guidance and support and identify the strengths, weaknesses, and allow them to take it back to the committee and review what you've seen and what they've collaborated with to allow them to make decisions based on their own needs without us trying to tell them what to do. They figure it out themselves. It's kind of the reverse that we do in a troop. Commissioners are kind of like the scoutmaster. We let the unit lead and kind of step back and act as the mentor in the same way that a scoutmaster does to a troop.
Okay.
I think build upon being a mentor is also providing the resources from the district and the commission that they might not be aware of.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Should more committees be involved? Members? Committee members? You can have, but mainly the key three are the point. But I like what you was talking about, is that the unit commissioner should be involved as well, because that's where you're trying to make that joint togetherness, because that unit commissioner and the district commissioner should know the units. Now, here's one thing that needs to be brought up. Now, as unit commissioners, you should be making a report every time you meet with a unit, okay? Every time you meet with a unit, your district commissioner should know that you met with district or PAC 123, you've created a plan, you've helped them prioritize the situations that are at hand, things of this nature, so that they know what's going on and they can maybe even provide assistance. Okay, moving on, because we just got a very few minutes here. Let's summarize. Commissioner tools provide a good framework. Now, if you use your commissioner service book and use your tools that are there, use them, because they can be a very effective tool for you. Second, first-hand observations are essential. Early warning signals hint of underlying issues. Regular contact helps you know the unit. Okay, those are 4 important things that as commissioners we should be doing. Okay, with that being said, observations only help if they lead to action. When we make an observation, they need to help by leading to action. Okay, any questions from anybody?
As a new unit commissioner, anyone got any tips on how to kind of start that relationship with PACs and troops? I'm having a hard time, like when I call somebody, they're like, yeah, whatever, I don't really want to talk to you.
Oh, really?
Go to as many meetings as you can. Just
Yeah.
start going to meetings and get to know. Really, I like the idea earlier about talking to the parents first. I tend to do that a lot too. And you'll find more information from the parents than you will from the leaders sometimes, because they'll tell you what the real opinion is or consensus amongst the group. And that's really the only way to do it, is just become friends with them and just show up for as many meetings as you can.
Yeah, non-threatening. Just show up, be friendly, offer your help, make it more of a friendship versus threatening. That's definitely the issue across the country, is commissioners are seen as the enemy, and that we're working with council to, bring you down or change things. And you just got to be their friend. How can I help? Let me work with the kids, do whatever it is that you can. But the friendly you are at first, the more they're going to actually ask you for help over time. So
that is very true, Jenny. Now,
one of the things that I did when I started out was sending them constant emails to update them about things. And then when you continue to do that, they will end up reaching out to you to ask questions. So if you're not able to meet in person, at least you're still providing them some tools that they can go back to you and use as a resource, knowing that you are there for them.
I used to also bring them information from Roundtable and stuff. I'd bring them the flyers that the hack or the troop did not pick up the previous Thursday. And they really liked that all of a sudden I was the mailman for them. I did that with one unit and they loved it because they would never go to Roundtable, and I just would bring them all the info they needed, and they felt like they didn't have to go. Of course, then I turned around and had to remind them, okay, well, you should actually go to
Yeah.
Roundtable. You're missing out on a lot. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, but I did get into one troop one time back in 11 and 12 by simply bringing them the mail.
Okay,